Hi, this is Zena Harris.
And I'm Mark Rabin.
Welcome to the tie-in.
Hey everybody, and hey Zena. It's we're at the tail end of a solid few weeks of conferencing and meeting people and networking and award-winning things.
Like all of it.
It's been intense. How you feeling?
Yeah. I am feeling pretty good. A little tired, have to be
Hmm.
honest. Coming off of some travel, and I know you've been traveling and going
Hmm.
around to events and whatnot. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, happy to take a weekend and just kind of
Yeah,
relax a little bit.
I hear you. It's yeah, I'm also at that tail end of an incredible just road trip around
Yeah.
the US and just met the most amazing people. I mean, all the time, just incredible folks doing phenomenal things. But first, I think at the top of this chat, you won some
Oh
awards
yeah. Yeah,
at
I did.
NAB, right? We
I
don't want to forget that because so much has happened that it feels like that was like a lifetime ago.
I know.
Um, yeah,
I know it does. It
what did
was
you win?
it was great. It was the Media Tech Sustainability Series at NAB, and Barbara and Lisa, they put it on. So shout out to them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, I was honored with a leadership award, and then Green Spark Group was honored with a sustainable company award. So we were recognized in a couple of categories. So that was really nice.
Yeah. Were you there to receive it
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, I was. I went. I participated on a panel with other wonderful companies doing amazing things. And then yeah, received the award. And then that was at the beginning actually. That was on,
Hmm.
gosh, what was it? Monday, April 7th. And then I got myself to LA for LA Climate Week that week.
Totally. And that's where we met up there,
Hmm.
and which was really great. I really enjoyed attending
I know.
that Climate Week conference, and yeah, it was just so cool. It was actually a really, really tight-knit community, Like I've been to New York Climate Week. It was just huge, huge event. And then this one was really, really cool. And it's a nice mix and blend of folks in entertainment, but also there's a lot of discussion around resiliency and rebuilding. Obviously the wildfires in January were devastating and still are, and still the effects are still being felt. But I definitely felt a real optimism in terms of reimagining, how people want to be in community and what we want to rebuild and resiliency in the face of, again, those catastrophic wildfires, and so many people's lives were affected by that. Uh, so that sort of infused in the Climate Week. But yeah, it was just a really, really great one. And then we both were part of the creative industries session put on by the Sustainable Entertainment Society. And yeah, that was a great panel that I moderated a panel and you were on it.
Yeah.
Um, Eric from AEG, Amy Morrison, Styx,
Hmm.
and yeah, I just thought it was just such a fun panel. It really was actually one of the best panels I feel like I've been on and moderated in a long time.
Yeah, I I think so. I think, there's an art to pulling together a
Hmm.
good panel, and then there's an art to, each panelist really getting to talk, in any real meaning and depth about their subject matter or their company or whatever they're presenting on. And I thought this one was just really well done. And of course it takes a good moderator to keep that conversation flowing. So well done, you.
Hmm. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great.
yeah, but the day also was great. Even
Hmm.
and following that, the session after about health and well-being in the industry and talking about the film Safe Sets. So big shout out to that crew because that's such a great documentary to shine a light on the health and well-being in the industry. And
Hmm.
and chatting about that. And then the sort of idea blast, popcorn,
Yeah.
tell what, what you're up to, what you're doing, a case study or whatever. I was blown away by some of the folks who spoke at that. I mean, you know, it's just really innovative stuff going on out there. People are doing it, and it's cool to see. And everything from designers to, using apps for certain things to, directing and producing in a particular way. All, lots of things.
Mm. I
So
just love, I mean, at the end of the day, I think what always came up is people in entertainment are creatives,
yeah.
right? And they're kind of their own little startups all the time because each production is a startup. So everybody's really well versed in this ability to create something from nothing. And that came up a lot in the discussion. And everybody, that we met so many new people who were like actually curious about it too, right? And trying to
Oh
like, okay,
yeah.
I want to be involved in this and
Mm-hmm.
as a force for change and for good. Our media really, it's just it's perfectly set up to be the change that we want and what we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody's there, but like not everybody wants that. At the same time, the folks that were attending the creative industry session, obviously they're in on it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was really good. Really, really good. Got around town a bit. You were at LA Climate Week longer than I was, so you had an opportunity
Yeah.
to do a bit more.
Yeah, and I
Um,
got to run into same folks at different events.
oh yeah.
And yeah, it was just like I said, it was just a really sweet, really, really tight-knit community. And that's what struck me the most, in a region of 18 million people that the same small group of folks were really are making sort of lots of big changes happen in LA and around the area. So
Yeah.
that was super exciting. And at the same time, right, Coachella's happening. So then there's that
Right.
whole vibe was happening up in Indio near Palm Springs. And I also popped in there on my way to LA just to visit friends who are setting up stuff like Ken Deans was out there.
Right.
I think we chatted briefly about this, but the other day. But Ken Deans was out there. Lots of different solar installations, and Neil from Overdrive out there. So yeah, just really cool to meet all types of folks, and obviously Andrea Gini,
Mm-hmm.
where we have a special edition that should be out by the time this comes out, right? It'll come out the day before
I
our
think
chat
so.
here. Yeah, and just I don't know, it feels like there's definitely a lot of things happening in this neck of the woods. So I just feel really, really lucky to be interacting with these incredible, incredible folks. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah. And
incredible.
then you went to the Music Sustainability Alliance
Mm,
Summit. How was that?
yeah, the tail end of all of this. Um, it was really great. I have to say, shout out to the MSA folks, Amy and David as well, and their partners. It was very well attended, full action-packed day, stayed on schedule, and all the folks were there. I mean, all of our friends were there, and I got a chance to see there was a panel, also a technical panel, where Neil was on that panel from Overdrive. So was Paul Schirink from
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, from Show Power, and Christina Chu from Solar
Uh,
Punks as
yeah.
well. She was great. And yeah, it just was really, really cool to meet new and old friends.
Uh-huh.
And we've talked about this before, but it really feels like the music industry is so open and collaborative and ready to make these big strides in how do we power big stages? How do
Yeah.
we power full event site power? How do we do vendor power? How do we do sustainability in terms of food and waste and just engagement, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
we, you know, Maggie Baird was there, Billie Eilish's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's her support and feed, right?
Yeah.
Like she was there as well, and just she's such a beautiful speaker and so passionate. And yeah, it's just so cool to see that there's this confluence of the producers, the folks on the ground that are actually making it happen, production folks, and stars and the talent, right? I mean, you've got again, like folks like Chris Martin from Coldplay, for example. He wasn't there, but it's all touches in the same awesome community. And I just am so hopeful for the music industry to be rallying behind this
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like now's the time.
Yeah, and when you have that open, collaborative nature, people are leaning in, people are wanting to. Don't you feel like there's like a flow to it? There's like um it just the energy's good, things happen, things move
Hmm.
quickly. There's that kind of momentum and flow. Do you feel that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
just like everybody's kind of just working together and jiving. And again, everybody's creatives, right? It's like everybody's got their story about how they got into the business and the things that people have seen, like it's like
Oh
when you're on the road, when you're working with bands, when you've been doing it for 30 years and it's just yeah, I don't know. I just find it so inspiring and just feel really honored to be a part of it and to be um yeah, on this side of things that are like actually pushing for that to make that happen.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh, in light of all the crazy things that are happening in the world, right? And this is a bright light for that. So yeah, it's been an incredible time down here, and I'm on my way back to Canada,
Yeah.
back to the
Yeah.
homeland.
Yeah. Well, you've got a bit of a road trip to go, huh?
Hmm.
So, yeah. Well, good. All right. Well, I mean, thankful for all the cool stuff, the cool people we've
Hmm.
met and the work that's being done out there. So, I would say,
Yeah.
keep it up, everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some good stuff
Yeah.
happening, right? So,
Absolutely. And we want to speak to you if you got something. I mean, I've got you and I both have lists of people now that we want to talk to and interview.
yeah.
So now it's on us to follow up with those folks. But anybody who wants to talk to us, feel free to reach out because it's just the more people we interact with, the deeper this goes, and the stories are incredible.
The
And the
stories
work
are
that people are doing.
Yeah, interesting people out there, right? So good storylines for writers, good,
Yeah.
tech out there, good case studies to share, all the stuff, right? So it's really neat and it's fun doing this with you, Mark. Like,
Yeah. It's now it's time for like, a month of like rest and rejuvenation.
all right, all right. Well, everyone, like and subscribe, please, and share with a friend. Tell someone about this podcast and get in touch if you know anyone doing
Yeah.
great work out there.
Thanks, y'all.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're here at our fifth installment of South by Southwest, where we're interviewing amazing changemakers in their respective fields. And today we're speaking with Janice Overbeck. And she's an entrepreneur whose work spans across real estate, environmental activism, and film production. As the founder of the 2050 Pictures, Janice has merge cinematic storytelling with eco-conscious themes to produce films and documentaries that entertain while raising awareness about critical social and environmental issues. Through 2050 Pictures, Janice spearheads projects such as The Last Bumblebee, a film that explores humanity's relationship with nature, Plastic Earth, which confronts growing global crisis of plastic pollution, which is, in my opinion, top critical things that we need to really address and abate, and its devastating effects on both marine and terrestrial ecosystems. And Janice's docuseries, Capturing the Carbon, hosted by Rob Riggle, delves into groundbreaking technologies designed to help achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Awesome, Janice. These are getting shit done projects.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about what you're working on
Okay.
specifically.
Well, what brought me here to South by Southwest is Capturing the Carbon. I'm working on a TV series with Rob Riggle, actor and comedian Rob Riggle. And basically it's a docu-series, and he is going on a mission to learn about the technologies and innovations being worked on to help solve the climate crisis. So we delve into the 52 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions emitted each year, of course, mostly carbon, a little bit of methane and nitrous oxide, and go into all these innovations from, nuclear fusion energy to agriculture. And what's really cool is ever since COVID, there has been a massive amount of private and public funding into this. So we're really excited to bring out the series because, we were in Commonwealth 2 weeks ago. They built the largest magnet in the world in Boston, funded by MIT. It's $1 billion project. And I think it used to be nuclear fusion's 10, 15 years away, and it never was. Yeah. And now it's really going to commercialize in the 2030s. And so I definitely see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel getting to work on solution-based films like that.
Yeah,
so.
We are all about solutions. And it's funny, too, because I remember when I was first getting really into it, it's you read all these books, and the first 90% of the book would be how everything's going to hell in a handbasket. And then that last 3 pages is oh, and by the way, we might need some solutions. Mm-hmm. So you're flipping that on its head.
Yeah, and that used to be a great way in the past of making documentaries. But when I got into the documentary filmmaking world, it was my debut film was Plastic Earth, and that was all about solutions to the plastic crisis. I was I went on a mission for 3 years to discover what truly can we work on, what is being worked on to solve this multifaceted issue. And so, and I really think that's important now because I have 4 children myself, and there's a lot of doom and gloom in the world, and the scary documentaries used to really be effective, but now there's so much that I really think that you do have to have solution-based and innovative approaches to really inspire the next generation of engineers and scientists and innovators. So
yeah, absolutely, it's so important. Can you walk us through the process of making a documentary? When you identify the topic, or how do you approach it, and what are you thinking about along the way to convey the information in a true and authentic form?
So, so far, I've just really explored documentaries on large-scale environmental and social issues that are really important to me. So they're passion projects. And it's just, I just start researching and reaching out to people and doing Zoom meetings, and then kind of putting together the story from there to figure out the through line. But really with the theme of it being solution-based. Yes. So, and then I have a partner, co-producer, co-director, Jack Winch, who is amazing at editing, and we are just a great team, and we have a lot of fun together. So it's interesting because when you make a narrative, you really have to write out the storyline. You have to plan everything. You may go film for 3 weeks and everything's planned and organized. With documentary, you kind of figure out the storyline as you go because you're uncovering so much information as you interview people. So it's a different process, but I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. And it probably takes you to new and interesting places and talking with people that are, interesting in their own right to the subject matter at hand, right? So speaking of solutions through your work, what have you seen as kind of the ripple effect of films that you've produced?
So like with Plastic Earth, it was great because I was able to meet people working from the cleanup efforts to new material types to attending all the UN plastic treaty meetings that have been going on. Putting in plastic waste treaties, waterways treaties. So it's been great because I've been able to connect people working on the same problem but in a different angle, and create synergies there and relationships. And that's probably the most fun thing about making documentaries is just the people connections that I'm able to connect so easily because I went around meeting all the different folks working on a problem. We can talk about the plastic stuff later too because I actually was the call I was on coming up here. I was telling Collins I was on a call. The person so a lot of people are working on biodegradable bioplastics, and there's there's the old PLA biodegradable, then there's PHA, which is the newer, which could be like marine degradable. The issue is when you make those, even though they don't create microplastics, you may not be using fossil fuels, you still have to add additives. So there's not one solution today that you don't have to add the additives that are still concerning. And but there is something that's coming that's a completely different, amazing situation. And so anyway, the person that developed it, that got $50 million from the Department of Defense, and that's a whole other story that's too long to tell now, is I mean, they're setting up big high-level meetings with like some big packaging producers to take a look at their products. So I see a lot of hope there too in the future.
Yeah, because there's a lot of plastic in a lot of different ways in our society.
Yes, and then what's scary is like this morning I was at the Delta Lounge and people were drinking out of the plastic, or no, they were drinking out of the paper cup. They don't think about the fact that it's lined in plastic and their hot coffee is in there, and it's literally putting all kinds of endocrine disrupting chemicals in their bodies, right? And they could have just grabbed the ceramic cup because they were going to sit there and drink it anyway, but they grabbed the paper cup. I mean, there were like 4 or 5 people around me. I literally have to bite my tongue so I don't annoy everybody. But I feel so bad because I'm like, if you think of it and know about it as a health concern, you'll make the change. People will make the change a lot quicker. Yeah.
So. We were introduced to a film called Plastic People, and similar to what you're saying. And these kinds of stories, like this is how you get it out to the masses, right?
Yeah.
And just so interesting. What we don't realize is happening out there.
Yeah. Plastic People, they did a great job. They were the funding came partly from the government in Canada, which was really cool. And they were out pushing hard at the 3rd UN, or it was the 4th UN plastic treaty meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's even folks like that, and then connecting all. I bet that's a great like community builder in that space. Association, I guess, connector of associations even in the plastic world too. Have you found like, big things like that kind of connection with various people has really allowed for, sort of as a force multiplier, kind of momentum to move forward quickly in certain solutions? For certain solutions?
For the plastic, it's interesting because once my movie was released, the UN plastic treaty meeting started, and there were five meetings over the course of 2.5 years. The final one was in November of last year, and that was in Korea. So I attended the final one, but unfortunately we didn't get a plastic treaty. And that's a whole long conversation. But they're going to do a follow-up meeting to that in August that will hopefully push through. And so, yes, there's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of parades and, NGOs and all kinds of folks. But then, and then all of a sudden you see a stale, it just stalls out, and that's disheartening. But the good news is I like to be able to see it from all angles and not just, okay, we're just going to put in a treaty for waste here. And I do know that technologically speaking, there's a lot of solutions that are going to come out that it's going to be a no-brainer and we're going to have to switch. Might take a while if we continue to put $500 billion a year into fossil fuels, which makes plastics artificially cheap where nobody can compete. But eventually the camel's back will be broken there, I hope. So.
Well, it's because the camel has like 20 pounds of plastic in it. Or whatever, right?
It's terrible, or maybe more.
Or more. I mean, until though we get the large plastic producers, understanding and in on it and finding those other solutions, it's going to be tricky. I mean, it's like even single-use plastics. I always I'm like, if we can solve the plastic problem, we can directly have a major impact on the climate problem in general, because it's one of the key pillars of like propping up sort of the climate solution. And you've made the link though from the plastic sort of in our environment and our bodies and so on to the carbon story. Is that
yes.
correct?
And I would actually love to take a minute just to show you that trailer,
please.
because I think it could spark an interesting conversation for the rest of our time. Okay.
When people cry wolf and the sky is falling, do you see why people are walking away from this issue? So how do we change that? Because there is something happening. The earth is warming. In your opinions, what's the critical thing we need to do short term that demands our immediate focus and attention?
Working on a solution to climate change.
Well, I think we came to the right place then. All right, so you're capturing the carbon here, and then you're going to condense it and send it?
Correct.
Is that the brief way of saying it?
That's right.
How does all of this work? All of this. I love this thing. This is fantastic. That's your lead. We just figured out, we cracked this code, you guys. Do you see mine up at the top of the net? Top of the net, y'all.
We're here on the Antarctic Peninsula.
So what does Antarctica have to do with capturing the carbon? You're about to find out.
This is the Sea Change, the first 100% hydrogen-powered passenger ferry.
There are 12,000 species of seaweed that grow on this earth.
How is that even cataloged? I mean, that's just crazy.
We have proven the concept that behind fusion is viable.
We take 3 football fields and
Three
it gets
football
to
fields down to
tens
that
of
little red
microns
dot.
precision there.
The
So
power, think how much power's in there. That's awesome.
If we, the people of the United States and the world, were able to see those things, all the other decisions get easier.
Agriculture, regenerative agriculture, where it's going to pull in the soil. Like, you know how we've been mapping and learning about the microbiome in humans for like 15 years. Yeah. We met with Indigo Ag. I had no idea that you can map in the microbiome of plants. And so it's a whole new level of regenerative agriculture that I didn't even know existed.
And biofertilizers and you name it. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's so many ways to now approach this, new ways, opportunities. And so we're long on technologies. Where's the rub, right? It's on influencing people to make those changes and adopting them, and corporations to include them or do pilot projects. Like, where are you seeing the the challenge here in really getting these new technologies out to the market?
Well, a lot of what we've been exploring in this series is innovation that's been funded and technologies that have been worked on since COVID, because after COVID, there has been so much funding with private and public sector, and a lot of them aren't even commercialized yet, or they're about to be commercialized. So I think when you have cheaper, faster, better, I love Tom Steyer's book, Cheaper, Faster, Better, then it's a no-brainer, and then everybody will adapt, and that's and adopt too. And that's what we're looking at, is just no-brainer, cheaper, better, cleaner, absorb CO2 or get rid of the CO2 or methane or nitrous oxide, depending on what it is emitting. Those are the things that we're looking at in this series, where we literally leave at night and we're like jazzed up and energized because we know the world is going to change.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time, and that problem will be solved. I'm a lot more concerned about our biodiversity issue on this planet and the lack of interest and will being put into things like the Amazon rainforest right now than I am the climate crisis, even though it is going to be going up for a while, the Keeling curve. I'm on a panel with Dr. Keeling, Charles Keeling's son, tomorrow, and the Keeling, he said, I'd love to see the curve start to go down before I die, the parts per million. And that'll be a challenge. And then once we get to net zero 50, 100 years, we're not going to see it. It's why it's such an interesting thing to work on, the hardest thing for humans to ever work on, and it's not really going to affect any of us as much. I mean, it is affecting us every day, obviously, with all the different natural disasters. But it's a very strange thing for humans to be a part of. But we're making it happen. It will change. I really, really think that problem will be solved. For me, it's biodiversity.
I agree. But also just to touch on, the whole system, including the market incentives and corporate incentives, are not geared towards long-term thinking. I think that's sort of one of the challenges that we're seeing here. So there has to be a shift at those levels as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got in Europe, you have to is it 20? I think it's 2050 for that too. That you have to be carbon neutral in business, and so they're buying offsets. They're working towards getting, they're working on the path there. We're taking a step back right now, but hopefully the world will continue to move forward in like California and other places. But, the carbon markets have gone down to like 25% of what they were 2 years ago. So a lot of people think that they're wondering what the outcome is going to be of the credibility of those in the long term. But I definitely think that it's going to come back, and that it's a great business. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. And I feel like these are all market structures and whatnot. These are human constructs that we came up with and put in place so that, we as humans can change them and, bring in these new technologies, integrate them into, various systems and whatnot. So we have all of the, human power and ability that we need to be able to do this. There are some big kind of, influencers out there, the government for one, or, large companies, those folks that really influence like large systems. What are you seeing, through this series? Like where do you think the penny's going to drop? Is it in the private sector? Is it going to be, through the commercialization of some of these technologies, really pushing forward? Like
riding in the street?
Yeah, like is entertainment gonna be the one to win over mass population and shift culture? Like where do you see?
I think shift culture really comes when something's cheaper, faster, better, which I go back to. And, we wouldn't even be and we're talking about sustainability and climate, I guess, here, right?
Yeah.
Kind of intersected. Yeah. So we wouldn't even, what I've heard as a recurring theme meeting with some of the world's most brilliant people working on climate is we wouldn't be in this problem if we had not had Fukushima, 3 Mile Island, and Chernobyl, because nuclear would have been expanded. We would have, not been putting it in fault zones, and it worked.
The next multiple generations
from
now.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we've got nuclear fusion, which is clean, which is different than fission. And of the carbon emissions, yes, we've got buildings and agriculture and all of that, but really 75% of it goes back to energy source. Yeah. And I believe that nuclear fusion is going to be an energy source in 5-10 years that can commercialize. And then also like solar systems where there aren't grid situations like in India and so forth. They're also 100% recyclable now. They're working a lot better technologies in solar. And
storage, the storage part of it.
So I don't think that we need like people or corporations to have to like decide that they're going to be altruistic and push on a better path and spend the money. I think it really comes back to change is going to happen when something makes the most sense, and I feel like that we're getting there when it comes to the technologies.
Well, fusion though has been the promise for a long time. I feel like we are getting there as well. I'm very hopeful, but it feels like also like we need a tremendous collective effort and funding to get that in the last 20% or to get to where fusion is commercialized. So it's going to be like, I always laugh when it's like, oh yeah, here's $200 million for this fusion company. And it's like, this company needs like $8 billion.
Yeah.
To like
You're absolutely right.
It.
So Commonwealth, which is one of the heroes, I think that there's like 3 right now in nuclear fusion that are really close. Commonwealth is one from MIT. They're now in a funding round where you have to like be invited to get into because everybody wants a piece. So they've proven so much, and they're about to make a couple of really big announcements that it's now a downhill, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 10-year project to prove yourself, make the money. And then so many of these large scale like startups with climate and with the sustainable, they end up running out of funds, even though they had the right ideas. So I 100% agree. It's interesting, but watch Commonwealth because I am like so jazzed about being there. I feel like they may solve like the heroes of the world. I put a sticker on my laptop from the chief scientist there that like helped invent it, and what they're doing. So
there's one company called General Fusion in Vancouver, in Canada.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's also been doing. They've got these huge pistons, kind of like going into a central area. I don't know how close they are or not as well, but they're part of the landscape.
Well, after the Lawrence Livermore breakthrough in December of 2022, which of course is a nonprofit government entity, I don't know. I cannot even wrap my head around how fusion works. That is way above like physicists and all that. I don't know how they're amazing. They're super smart, but I do know that helped propel all of the different methods of trying to get to nuclear fusion. And there's apparently about 15 of them, like way forward. Yeah. And funding behind it. So I bet you that they've had a massive push in the past couple years since that. I'll have to look into them and see. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's exciting. And
so. Yeah, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, but it may not. We can move to something else if it doesn't make sense. But I was just going to say, what have you guys been hearing? What have y'all been working on? What's exciting?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my background is energy technology and sort of mobile power systems, solar generators, industrial things. So I can play between deep tech, but also application based. So that one of the first markets that was our beachhead was really like live events and then the film and entertainment industry. So spent the better part of the last decade really working on making the film and entertainment industry more sustainable, and how do we power it?
Nice.
How do we make the actual productions more sustainable, but also how can we do things creatively, like you're saying, that save time and money, or do something that you otherwise weren't able to do prior, tethered to a generator, or the noise or the emissions and so on. So that's been a big part of the work that I've been doing, and continuing to expand in that area, because Zena and I really believe that the entertainment industry is an incredible platform for real change to make it happen. We can do this. We can make movies. We can entertain ourselves without taking a huge crap on the planet every time.
Yeah.
And throwing styrofoam in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's awesome. I mean, there's so much waste in production of films, and then on top of that, just the sheer like impact that a celebrity can have on their actions. Yeah. I think that's great. It's huge. Yeah. So I agree.
Yeah. Similarly. And, and I kind of, Mark and I met probably around 10 years ago or so, when he had one of his new battery power units, and I called him up because we were working on production. I was like, hey, can we get this on set to bang around with, and see if we can make it work. And it was like we've just been working together ever since, and just kind of transformed how power is kind of thought about and delivered to film productions across the board. So it's really interesting. And then I work across sustainability and entertainment. So that goes from advising on productions all the way to strategy and training and whatnot, with the various stakeholders.
Sporting events, live entertainment. I mean, there's so much that falls under that: live broadcast, fashion, sports, like film and TV.
Yeah.
Major festivals.
Everybody needs power. Everybody needs materials. So these are like core, and food is in the materials bucket. I kind of lump it in there, right? Because we're bringing these things into our sort of production system, if you will, and then we have to figure out like, what are we bringing in, and then how are we going to use it, and what happens to it afterwards. This is all a planning process, really. So that's kind of where we focus.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What that got me thinking about. So when we were making Plastic Earth, we went to Penn State University, which is I think the third largest stadium in the U.S. and they are completely circular. Mm-hmm. Like they even have their own. They bring the compost out to the university from the stadium, like the food waste and the composting, and they do commercial composting there. And I was just thinking, have you guys seen the mill? It's this home composter that's like the newest generation that you don't have to add like rocks and not rocks, but like feed and all this junk to, because I've had the old generation before. The mill is like amazing. I haven't gotten one yet. They're $1,000, but they're out of Washington State. Take a look, because that would be so cool if the mill starts. Yeah, but it's like people say it's just amazing. You can see like their promo video. It's relatively new.
Yeah.
I believe it's backed by the billionaire Chris Sacca from Shark Tank. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but you can quote me on that if I'm correct.
You're right.
But seriously, that would be so cool if eventually that was in like places and everybody knew about it, because then all of that food waste that they said, if carbon emissions, third largest country after China in the U.S. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest. Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of that, and that's where you can make big change, right? In those big venues. So it'd be really cool if that gets to scale.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we're noticing like the commonalities between various segments of entertainment, if you will. Like, for a long time we were focused on film and TV, but then when you look across to music and sports and how they're using equipment and how they're using various clean tech and thinking about materials that come into their, unique systems. I mean, some of these stadiums have it dialed in. Like they have it really dialed in. And it's just really interesting to see how you can do this when 80,000 people are flowing through your venue.
You got to make it easy. You got to make it easy for them.
Yeah.
People want it. I mean, this is the thing. It's like people don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, I'm just going to, throw plastic in the garbage every minute of my life and eat plastic or whatever it is. And no one wants toxic chemicals in their bodies and so on. But it's like, but you're right. I mean, you have to make it easier for people to do it. You've got to make it normal. You've got to normalize it as well.
And I know what I was thinking in AI, with AI coming into the movie industry, although of course it's a massive power use. That's really interesting what you could probably save on waste, I would imagine. I don't know much about it, but just I'm sure you guys have probably seen like just, background changes and whatever, and not having to blow up a car actually, but you can just put it with AI.
It's happening.
It's probably
there's
in the
some
infancy,
resistance.
right?
There's a little bit of resistance there as well. But it's already been embedded into a lot of the work that's going on.
Interesting.
Interesting applications for it, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and it does. One of the things, when you move a film unit from location to location, you're using way more, resources and really fuel is the kind of big thing, because you need to move your equipment and all the gear, and you also need to move the people. Right. And so, sometimes folks are like, well, we didn't build anything, but, we had 40 locations. And I was like, with the crew of like 200 people and whatnot, your fuel consumption goes way up. So it's like these kinds of things. Once we measure it and we understand it, we can obviously manage it, right? So, so that part's really interesting and really helps in planning.
I wonder if there's a path in the future for film production, like narrative films, to actually build in such sustainable practices, maybe from things that you guys uncover, and sell carbon credits, because there's so many different avenues. Like people are. My background's in real estate, and we're working on a sustainable development in the iLab at Harvard, and it's really interesting because there's just ways that you can build where the homeowner moves to your new development, and then as long as you can get it certified through the outside certification, then you can sell the carbon credits and they can make money back. And so, but there's so many markets like that don't exist yet, but there is a path and it can get figured out. So it'd be cool if someone like you guys could figure it out for the film industry, and I can maybe figure it out for the housing.
Studios are fixed locations, and if they had some kind of opportunity like that, it's
exactly.
a great point.
Exactly.
A great point.
Yes.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, it's as simple as starting with solar panels on the roof. I hadn't thought about it either until I met somebody that really wanted to do that for the housing, and now we're partnered on it on a pilot project, and we're trying to make it happen. So.
Yeah, well, understanding buildings and building emission is a huge way to start to cut our CO2 and pollution and so on. So I think that's a great place to start as well. And why we like film, though, is that it's a great market to trial new technologies, to get it out there and to showcase the world through stories, through behind the scenes. So it's starting. It still has a long way to go, and that's the thing. We're seeing the music industry now and large festival stuff. They're starting to catch up. So that's starting to be interesting too. Sporting events, that's another one. So, it's all how we entertain ourselves, and it's important for us to get it right, to share those stories, because how can we, again, expect heavy industry to decarbonize if we can't even make entertainment like very carbon neutral?
So what about South by Southwest? Do you see is there anything exciting going on here? Is anybody really trying to be sustainable in their operations of the event and trash facilities or anything? I know we're about to end.
Yeah, we haven't been looking that much, to be honest, because if you look every corner, you can find something that is a bit heartbreaking. But there's no shortage of generators and plastic and all types of different things, and waste and food. I don't know, you name it.
No, it's here. I mean, I know there is a sustainability push, right? But like you said, you can walk out on the sidewalk and see, plastic wrapped, electrical boxes and plastic over the picnic tables because, people, want to put their posters and, promo material up. And so that is a way they are, safeguarding, these, these various assets, if you will, city electrical boxes, these sorts of things. They just wrap them in plastic. So there's that I noticed. You'll see it when you look now. You'll notice it. Bike racks are covered in plastic. These sorts of things.
Like not just plastic, like
saran wrap type plastic, right? Which is very difficult to deal with. Generators are powering things. So there's just a lot of opportunity. It's these kinds of things that are just, when you know about them and you see the opportunity, and it's easy to spot, right? So.
But it's also bringing together great minds that are tackling some of the biggest problems here. So exactly. I think, there's a little bit of give and take when you're bringing this many people together, flying in from everywhere. So, I'm hopeful. I'm on the hopeful side.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I just flew in, and I've never been to South by Southwest before, so I'm very excited to be here and go check it out. You too?
Tell us about your session.
Okay, so tomorrow I am going to be on a panel, but I am going to kind of moderate the panel, and it's the quest to capture carbon. Ralph Keeling, son of Charles Keeling, who invented the first measurement to measure carbon in the atmosphere back in 1958. He's continued his father's work, and he's on the panel. And then a couple of other engineers / scientist innovators working on carbon emissions. And He's part of Scripps Institution of Oceanography in San Diego. So I think it's going to be a really great panel, and yeah, that's what we're working on tomorrow.
Great. And how can people find you in the work that you're doing online?
My website's 2050pictures.com, on LinkedIn, 2050pictures, Janice Overbeck, and on Instagram, Better Life Blueprint.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thanks. It was nice meeting you guys.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the conversation too.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, so we have a question that we ask all our guests. So I'm really curious to hear your perspective. If you were to write a new playbook of guiding principles for your work, what would be number one on your list?
You know, we can go to film in a second. With my real estate company, and I know you guys have to go. With my real estate company, we actually did go in with the county, and we went through a whole bunch of sustainable stuff, and we got a big award in our county for the first time in 10 years. And because I own a brick and mortar building in Marietta, where I live in Georgia. So I went down that path. Basically, the question you just asked, I went down that path, and we really scrubbed, and we worked so hard to do better and be better for the planet, and give access to information to our staff and employees. So so I think that was a very important exercise.
Our designer is Aaliyah Kane. Music is by Peter Chapman. Our producer is Colin Miller.